Three. We're alive, actually. Hello, 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 and welcome to Caregivers Embracing Elder Care. I am your nurse in the know, Bahamia Ulysses, and I am joined by my awesome co-host, Sergeant Major and Robin Downs. How are you two doing today?
I'm great. How you doing, Dad?
Happy.
Happy. Ooh, I love that, Sergeant Major. That is awesome. I am happy to be here another Sunday with you two. Today, we've got some good stuff to talk about. We've been kind of taking a step away from the care plan and moving into the fall. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Robin. You've got some really good affirmations and just yoga meditations for us. And I want you to talk to our audience about the fall and the equinox. We really have stepped foot in there. So I think it's time.
Most definitely. With my yoga practice, I really love to get in sync with the seasons. And right now with the fall, it's all about harvesting. We just got through a full moon where the energy is kind of elevated. And a lot of you might have felt this frenzied
Yeah,
energy where perhaps you needed to relax a little into it. And we've just kind of felt like there's a lot going on. President got COVID. And what do we have to do? We got to flow. And my father's a sailor. So it's not just flow. It's just kind of set the sail and so that you can flow in the right direction. Okay. So let's relax our bodies. Let's first squeeze the shoulder blades up to the ears. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Squeeze the shoulders all the way down. Squeeze the shoulders together forward. So let's do 4 slow, exaggerated shoulder rolls back, getting all the nooks and crannies as only you can do. Releasing any unconscious gripping, holding, tension, literally letting it roll off your shoulders, roll off your back, and then change the direction. 4 slow, exaggerated shoulder rolls forward, sense of flowing with it, releasing any gripping, any holding, any tension. And then from here, bring your right hand to your heart, your left palm to your lower belly. Inhale with that full belly breath, allowing your belly to swell like a balloon. And then exhaling fully, really pull the belly button back towards your spine and up towards your heart. Continuing on, breathing deeply, exhaling fully. Sense of relaxing your face, your neck, your shoulders. I'm just checking on what I wrote down for today's affirmation. So today's affirmation is, I am flowing with what is natural for me. So what is it to have that natural flow for you? You know, when you get off sync and stuff doesn't feel right, what is it that you need to do to get into your natural flow as we sync with this new season? So let's just take a few more minutes, breathing deeply, exhaling fully, reflecting and meditating on the fact I am flowing with what is natural for me. I am flowing with what is natural for me. One more time. I am flowing with what is natural for me. Full inhalation, bringing in all the oxygen, energy, and life force. Full exhalation, letting go of everything you don't need. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you.
Thank you, Robin. I love those. Did I say I love those? We've got a couple comments here. Someone in our Facebook group is saying thanks. Anthony Ogburn.
Hey, Augie.
You are more than welcome. I think those 5-minute kind of relaxation, meditation, affirmation, I kind of consider it all in one, but I feel like it encompasses yoga and the flow of yoga, and it gives you just that grounding technique that I tend to use with my caregivers, enough so that you can step away from whatever situation you're maybe going through that could be challenging. And that's ideally what they're there for, right, Robin, for kind of those challenging moments? Or would you say it's more of like a day-to-day practice?
for whatever you need it for.
Okay.
It could be for challenging moments.
Okay.
You know, it could be when you wake up in the morning and you want to just set the tone. It could be when the people in your environment are, you know, kind of hectic and you want to switch, you know, the mood.
Sure.
And, you know, it's like, okay, everyone, which I did with you at the beginning, let's breathe, let's get into
Yes.
So wherever you may need it. And what I'm really excited about, Bahami, is the fact that we're talking about being able to have sessions where we can extend it, where we can have more of an immersion with caregivers and their loved ones. So coming up, look for the offerings that we have where we want to create kind of a retreat where you can dig a little deeper with this practice and take it into your caregiving life.
Great point, Robin. I think that it stands to reason that if you really get into this lifestyle, as you can see Sergeant Major has as well, it really does change your caregiving journey, the path in your season, and how you really adapt to the different ebbs and flows, right?
Yes. Yes,
absolutely.
Most
So that's
definitely.
the point. Definitely. So, you know, later on, as Robin mentioned, we will be having a masterclass later this month. We are so excited. We're not dripping out all the details yet, but we are letting you guys know that to just look out for it. It's coming up. We are very much working hard at some of the pieces that we want to put together for you. So a lot of it will have to do with that deep dive that Robin was talking about. Thank you for that housekeeping, Robin. You know me, I just get on a roll here and and I forget the biggies, right? So moving into our, I guess, session today, our next segment of talking about the flow and getting into your caregiver flow. That's something that Robin and I have been talking about just in general. But overall, I think my biggest question to caregivers, and I'll pose it to you, Robin, is what is your caregiver flow? I'll give my definition in meeting after, but I wondered if people could kind of get an example from you, because I think you do such a good job at practicing this flow, not only with you, but also with Sergeant Major. I feel like you guys have this symbiotic flow. So would you, exactly. That yoga flavor, that groove. I'm serious. I can see it all the time. Trust me. I know what I'm looking at. So any tips or any things that you would tell our audience, people who are watching at home, you know, what about your caregiver flow works for you?
I think planning. My father loves the fact that every morning he has an agenda. I know everybody may not be able to do that, but I make a point because so he's not just looking at me, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't know, what do you want to do? So every morning, for the most part, I have an agenda. So he loves the agenda. And, you know, particularly on the weekend, I'll do a little research. It's the fall season, what fall activities. It's a lot more challenging with COVID because Dad used to go to the senior center. And Dad also has things in place where he has an aide that comes in as well. So our assignments have been to figure out what fall activities are available that he and Sergeant Major, if I'm busy working on my documentary, they could just, you know, go and get involved with the activity. And if I'm available, I'll go too, you know, something that I enjoy. Right. So, you know, looking at what, you know, pumpkin patches are around and what drives, you know, for the fall we can check out. Last week, Dad was able to check out a park out here in Long Island that he hadn't checked out before. And so just that planning is, and once you have the plan, then the flow, you know, just rolls out. Yeah. So planning allows you to have a real nice flow.
Yes, I agree. And you mentioned something that was kind of the follow-up. So you teed me up. I love how we work together, Robin. My next question was about if you were incorporating nature. So you mentioned taking those drives, pumpkin patches. I remember when I lived in the Northeast, I used to love going apple picking. Yes. Oh my God, that was everything for me. Just those orchards, they were, you know, amazing. And when I think about, or when I help some of my caregiver clients try to think about ways that they can plan some of these outdoor activities that are still, I say, COVID friendly, that really still incorporate that social distancing, that's what's key here. I think about those small, sometimes group activities, but definitely getting out. Again, in the Northeast, I remember the Berkshires where we would just go and ride these old wagons and just literally ride through old orchards and plantation. And if you live in the city and that's not something that you can do, we try to make sure that the parks, just like you said, Robin, those parks are really kind of available for you. I would be at this point very cognizant about looking at what's around you. Sometimes you have these little gems that you may not have thought about.
It's true. We're discovering Long Island. Before, even our getaway over the summer was a 20-minute ride to the beach. Before, it was going to California or going to Florida, but that 20-minute ride was delightful. Yes. And the other fall thing, my father really likes to dress for the season. He has a really nice collection of wool shirts, right, Dad?
Hopefully.
Yes. It's a really nice collection of wool shirts. Okay. So once again, this is all East Coast stuff. But
exactly, yeah, we're right.
The whole thing of pulling out, the change of wardrobe. And like I said, I know my father prides himself. So probably next couple of weeks, you'll start to see him in his wool shirts.
Okay.
He prides himself on, the wool shirts. And that, is also another vibe, another flow for a new season.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. You talking about a new wardrobe, Sergeant Major? I am ready.
Not new.
Not new. You're right.
Change of season. We're getting them out. We're getting them out of storage. And
Sergeant Major, can you tell I'm a shopper?
It has to be refreshed or mended or a new shirt.
Here and there. Can you tell I want to go shopping, Robin?
Yes.
Look at me, a new wardrobe. Let's go. Let's do.
I got the stuff, so I don't have to go.
You're right, Sergeant Major. And as true in fashion to how I like to do it, every event needs a new wardrobe. That's how I've always, but that's not the case. So I am excited to see your fall attire, and I'll get the new fall wardrobe, and we'll mix and match. Okay.
Me too.
The next thing I wanted to kind of go into is some tips about how caregivers can kind of go into their flow. Because I recognize even with my care and just working with caregivers that there are kind of, I would say, 3 types of caregiver flows. The first, I would say, is the more free-spirited type where you're not really planning as much and you're okay with taking things as they come. And that's not my favorite, but I recognize that it is a style, it is a flow, and it works for some people. So I never try to fix what isn't working, but we just have to make sure it is really working. So that's one style. The next style I always say is kind of organized Olivia. That's who I call her. I think I see a little bit of myself in her, maybe a little bit in you, Robin. We like to make sure things are planned. We like to make sure that we've got a foundation, that there's a system, that everybody knows what they're doing, tasks are delegated. So that's one kind of caregiver flow. And the last is kind of a mix between the two. So maybe this is where we fall. I don't know. I think I side with Olivia a little, but this is more for we plan for the best, or we plan for the best, or we hope for the best, and we'll expect or plan for the worst. We're kind of at the space where we're prepared, but there isn't something set in stone. So those kinds of flows, they get interchanged. But I want you to start to think about caregivers at home. What kind of flow feels good for you? Because I think sometimes we bounce back and forth between chaos and things are going really good. Let's hope nothing goes haywire, and I hate that you go through such an emotional up and down as a caregiver in general. So if you had to pick, what would be your flow, Robin? Do you think you would be an organized Olivia, a plan for the best kind of gal? Because I see you as a little bit of that go-to gal. So you tell me.
Well, it all really starts after the meditation.
Good point. Very good point.
The yoga girl, mystical girl, what would that be called? And it's interesting you say that because I share with you all the time that I'm taking this course with my coach, Himalaya. Yeah. And one of the quizzes she had was, what type of woman are you? And it was like goddess, medicine woman, or whatever. And I know I did goddess. So first, I'm the goddess, Bahamia.
Yeah, I love it. I want to be a goddess too.
First, I'm the goddess, right?
Yeah.
First, it's self-care, it's meditation. And then from that, I'll go into the planning
Okay.
and the execution, but it's first that self-care, filling my cup up and giving them the overflow.
Yes, I love that. Oh, that's so perfect.
And that's why we're a team.
No,
I gotta give you that goddess spirit.
Yes. I like that flow because it gives you an opportunity to ground yourself.
Yeah.
That, unique stability in whatever else is going on. I love that. Just a couple more tips for people, because we're not winding down too bad on time. We're doing really good. But I wanted to get it out there as we're talking about just the fall and looking at the planning, because I guess I am Olivia. I who I am. I can't deviate too far. But one thing is, and I don't know if you thought about this, Robin, but getting common vaccinations earlier or as early as possible. So I'm talking about the flu vaccination and the pneumonia vaccination. If that's something that you have or your aging parent has, and you as well have taken in the past, and I would definitely encourage, if you have, to continue to take, to not skip this season despite whatever else is kind of going on. I would say, instead of waiting to the mid part of that window, that vaccine window, let's try to do it early. I'm talking about, I think we're right in that window if we're not about 2 weeks out of it. So for sure, vaccinations. How do you feel about vaccinations, Robin? What do you?
Well, Sergeant Major has an allergy to eggs, so he hasn't gotten the flu vaccination, and that's probably where I'm hyper into eating right, exercise, meditation, getting out in nature, all the holistic things, and social distancing as best we can. He has been so healthy. When he was with his lady friend, he was in and out of the hospital a lot. Yeah. And since he's been here under my care, he's been doing so well. And he's been up to speed with all of his doctor appointments.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I've just been a little in the holistic realm for my father and myself. He's gotten a whole bunch. I know he didn't get the flu. He might have got pneumonia and all the other ones, but I know he didn't get the flu. Yeah. And yes, as for myself, I'm like just the super holistic woman. So maybe
at some point we should talk about that holistic aspect of how you kind of help yourself and Sergeant Major keep up that immunity, because you're not alone. Right?
Yeah, we're doing zinc and vitamin C and keeping ourselves hydrated. And just being very careful about wearing masks when we're out. You saw our
I did.
And he's the safety guy. So we're being as safe as possible, and that just kind of even puts me back to the president. It's like, if the president can't even take care of himself, how can we follow his lead to take care of us? So.
It is definitely a challenge. It's a challenge. But there was something that you said about the medical appointments and making sure that Sergeant Major was up to date.
The doctors are seeing him. Yeah,
big deal. And that's actually yes, and you. That's my second point, actually, or part of my second point. I know that at times, or this time of year has historically been the time of year for our aging parents, or just the senior population in general, to start to have certain surgeries and falls and things that kind of either get scheduled after summer, just as, whether they're just hip replacement, knee replacements, things that just need to happen but don't need to happen right away. They tend to get scheduled in the fall. But I really want everybody to think about this and just really take a moment to take a step back before they decide to go ahead with whatever major surgeries that need to happen. Ask yourself and ask your physician, is it absolutely necessary to have it fall 2020? Because I think, there's so many moving pieces. I don't know if you've encountered some of this stuff, Robin, but even things as simple as cataract surgeries or glaucoma, those things tend to need to happen. But if they can wait.
Yeah, what I did make sure to happen, I was concerned about him going to physical therapy in particular, because a lot of times it's in kind of a gym. I don't even know if it's happening. But what I did do, especially through the VA, I contacted the physical therapist and made sure he had a new wheelchair, because we're rolling in the park. I made sure he got a new walker because we're, taking our walks when we can. Yeah. So, the equipment, I was really happy. And that came in fast too. He got his new wheelchair and the walker's on the way.
Oh,
so
wow.
Things like that are also important. If you can get new equipment, and especially for us, since I'm encouraging dad and the aide to be outside, I think that's important too.
Very important, Robin. Very important. And getting that stuff done now versus next month.
Winter, whatever. No, he got new equipment for the fall to go into the winter. And,
It's going to be very busy. And especially in the Northeast. I'm in Southern California and you're in New York. And I think that different states and the Northeast versus the Southwest have kind of different buzzes around that time. And as the holiday is looming in the background, right, we need to kind of also give ourselves another kind of layer of support when it comes to even just that holiday planning, which we'll be talking about in our masterclass, right? But one thing I did want to say just in reference to it is, in terms of planning and caregiver support, start to really look at what the holiday will kind of play out or how it will play out for you. And I always say, put together like a special task force. I call it my holiday. I've got too many names for these things, but it's true. It's a holiday team task force. That's what it is. The holiday.
I love that. And write all that down. Because like I said, for the masterclass, you can ask people to pick out their type of caregiving. Yes. And so a task force. Okay.
Task force. You give anybody on the task force one responsibility, because as caregivers, I'm sure, Robin, we've talked about this a little bit, where you're having to plan a few different things and trying to figure out what the holiday is going to look like for you this year. So
and I burnt out to a certain extent.
Go ahead.
I really had to lean on my sister. It was so much, we traveled and everything. And it got a little overwhelming, and I had to be like, okay, sis, you're here. I'm so happy you're here. Take over. I need to take. Yeah. So it was really good that she was there. It was a family gathering, and I was just exhausted from the travel and everything. And it hit me, and I was just like, whoa. And I was happy that she was there to jump in and, continue to flow. Yeah. With what needed to be done.
And it didn't miss a beat, which is perfect. I think that you probably did it unknowingly. You have the task force and it's already set in place. But some people have a harder time. I've learned with a lot of caregivers, they have a harder time talking to their siblings, asking for help, or friends, neighbors, social networks, and trying to really take the time to figure out what is it that you could use the most help with. And maybe you can't necessarily assign or delegate that particular task, but are there supporting tasks, things that will kind of help you get that thing
and with COVID, a lot of people are just shut down, like not happening, not having a gathering, not going out my house, which is my real challenge because, Sergeant Major likes to socialize.
You know it. And we respect it. We respect it, right? I think that's also important because I think everybody has a different feeling around it, but it's all in the name of keeping everyone safe, hopefully. So we don't want to, I don't want to make anybody feel like their needs and concerns aren't addressed and that they're not valid. But we still got the holiday season. We've been isolated for so long. It's worth, to me personally, it's worth putting forth the effort to try to make it work and really come together and in a unity with the ones that you love.
That's nice, Bahamia. Thanks for that little it's worth the effort, energy. Because like I said, folks are shutting down. I was like, okay,
no, I'm not doing it.
What you just said, Bahamia.
Yes,
make the effort.
Sergeant Major, what do you say? Do you think it's worth the effort getting together for the holidays?
Sure.
I mean, you would like to see a few people.
In person versus
right versus the Zoom. If I could come over there and just hang out with you guys, I would.
Come on, Bahamia. What are you doing? Where are you going? Right? What's your plan?
So I'm making the effort too. Actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. So I am going to get on a plane and go to Florida to visit with all of my family. We have decided to
move. You just came back, so I guess you're feeling okay about those plane rides.
I do. It wasn't bad. I promise. I felt very good, and I felt very safe. And
All
they were
right.
such cute babies on the plane to welcome me, and they weren't crying too much. So I was really happy.
Okay.
So
Dad, keep hope alive.
keep hope alive. We're getting there. We're getting there. And they're doing their best, I think, to kind of maintain the social distancing.
Okay.
And if you want to know more about travel, maybe I'll put
And how was it with the mask on during the whole flight?
Good question. Good question. So I decided to, well, I didn't decide. They decided for me that I would have on the regular surgical mask, not the N95 mask that people have with the ventilator pieces.
Right.
So it was just the regular mask.
Wow.
During the whole flight, I
Wow.
didn't have an issue, but I will say this, Robin, and a lot of people do have concerns about it, which I totally understand. I used to work in the hospital setting where we always had a lot of contact isolation patients. So I would have to mask up, gown up, goggles, all of that. And a little bit of me is used to that lifestyle.
Okay.
I totally understand people who cannot tolerate wearing that mask for more than 20, 30, 40 minutes. It wasn't easy, I will say that much. And yes, the stewardess, or they're no longer called stewardess, I'm sorry, the flight attendants. Do you remember stewardess?
Yes,
Sorry.
I do. Oh,
Okay.
Sergeant Major, yes.
So I'm in the right place. Okay. The flight attendants are very adamant and strict about making sure you have your mask on at all times.
What about eating? Can you eat?
That's the only time. That's the only time. Yes. With the exception of having the little snacks, and they served us the snacks in a Ziploc bag. There was, I know. Robin. It was worth the effort to see.
Okay.
my
I
great
hear you.
friends.
I hear you.
But it was definitely, this was the first time between LA and Miami that I've taken a connecting flight. I usually always take a straight flight, but because of how things were, I felt like it would probably be best. And that's something maybe that I would recommend if you are flying and you usually take a long leg, breaking it up. The airports right now aren't that busy. They were, really maintaining the social distancing. There was no issue on that end. I think, the anxiety came with being inside that airplane for extended hours.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got off the plane, or I'd say the next day, I got COVID tested to make sure that I hadn't been exposed. And what I do like is that there are rapid testing, I wouldn't say clinics everywhere. So if you're planning your trip, try to go ahead.
Rapid testing. Okay.
Try to go ahead, especially if you're going to be around older folks. That's really, I think, my takeaway is if you can manage to get that testing done, get it out of the way, clear conscience, so you can enjoy your holiday season. But we'll talk more about that in our masterclass. That's just a little teaser, if anything.
Okay.
I think we're coming to the end of our show, Robin. Is there anything that I missed or anything that we need to talk about before we say goodbye to everyone?
Continue to go with the flow of fall.
Yes, absolutely. We will fall into the flow of caregiving and the fall equinox. Sergeant Major, is there anything else that you'd like to say to everyone before we leave today?
I enjoy what was going on now.
Oh, I always enjoy you, Sergeant Major, and Robin. You guys are literally the light of my Sunday. So I thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you here again next week with Caregivers Embracing Elder Care. And again, if there's anything that we didn't talk about, things that you want to just kind of put out there, please, you can put this in the chat, the group chat. You can direct message myself or Robin. We want to hear from you. We want to support you, and we want to answer your questions about caregiving, especially in the holiday season. So until next week, we will see you all. Have a wonderful Sunday. Robin, Sergeant Major, it's always my pleasure. I will.
And ours too. Thank you, Bahamia.
Thank you. I will see you guys same time, same place.
Caregivers Embracing Elder Care.
Bye now.